Thanks for tuning into the Urban Scope podcast. Today I'll be covering WNBA news. So, Chicago Sky's head coach Teresa Witherspoon was let go after 1 year of being head coach of the team. Um, I'll kind of go into why I think she got a raw deal and it was unfair to let her go after just 1 year. So I'm going to make several points as regards to why I think she should have been allowed more time to let the team develop, and why I think they pulled the trigger a little too soon on this one. Um, so let me first preface everything by saying that there's been a history uh, of NBA coaches being let go too early. So I know it's a different league and a different game. Well, it's the same. It's all basketball, but it's kind of a thing recently, even in the NFL, where they've been letting coaches go, even before I think it's too soon. Um, they haven't considered in totality what these coaches have to put up with, not only with players and but just the overall climate. um, so Dwayne Casey was head coach of the Toronto Raptors for 7 seasons, which he got a fair chance to do things. But he made 6 playoff appearances and won. Um, you know, he won 59 games before they let him go. The year after they let him go, which um, in that time he won a lot of games. He was able to take the team pretty far. And like I said, Toronto won one championship in 2019, but I think they just didn't give him a fair chance either. Like I said, if you win 59 games, and he won Coach of the year prior to him being fired, so it was kind of crazy that they let him go. Most people scratched their heads on that one. It was like, wow, I didn't think he was even on the hot seat. How can they let him go? Uh, Most people don't know why they let him go. They might just say, maybe he hit a ceiling. But like I said, Toronto, nobody's checking for Toronto like that. If they win a couple playoff games, then I think most of the consensus will be like, okay, they maxed out. But for the fire a guy after 59 wins and winning Coach of the Year is just insane. Coach Mike Budenholzer was fired 2 years after winning the championship. I mean, winning the NBA championship. So it's kind of a thing where you think he would have a little bit more grace than that after winning the championship. I know they had a first round exit that year against Miami Heat, which ownership could have been kind of frustrated by that, but they were plagued by injuries um, and just personnel issues, which I'll get into with Coach Weatherspoon here shortly about her situation. So I didn't analyze all of those coaches I just mentioned their situations, but I did um, analyze Coach Weatherspoon's situation, um, and why I think she was given a raw deal. So it was just a rough season altogether for her, and her top players were, to some degree, rookies. So Angel Reese, our leading rebounder on the team, was a rookie. Um, Her starting center towards the end of the year, because Cardoso missed games, Camila Cardoso was a rookie as well. So it was going to take time for that team to gel. And for all the struggles that they had, they did lose a lot of games by 20 points or more, but they did lose 9 games by 5 points or less. So just think if they had a healthy team and had a little bit more camaraderie and maybe more, senior leadership, maybe they could have won majority of these games and made the playoffs. They were only 2 games back from making the playoffs anyway. So maybe if they won like maybe 4 or 5 of those games that they lost by 5 points or more, maybe they would have made the playoffs regardless, and maybe she still would have her job. But who knows? The way these owners are today, with the impatience of the teams, um, just getting new coaches in there is not going to solve anything. Sometimes it may make it even worse because players have to adjust to a new system, to a new coach, to new egos and new personas and things like that. So sometimes you can, by trying to fix your problem, you can actually make your problem worse. So some of the issues that the Chicago had Sky had this year, their leading scorer was Kennedy Carter. Um, So kind of rewind things back. Their leading scorer was Marina Mabry for a while, but she was traded, and that's another reason why I think they shouldn't have let her go. You traded the leading scorer, so you trade the leading scorer to the Connecticut Sun, who were playoff. They were in playoff contention. Playoff. Um, eligible team all year long. So you trade her to a team to make them better, but you make your team worse because Chicago Sky didn't have a lot of scoring. They had a lot. They had rebounding and they had playmakers and stuff like that, but no consistent scores other than Kennedy Carter. But she came on kind of late. But Kennedy Carter missed 7 games. She missed games to illness and I believe an injury a couple of times, but most of it's like different illnesses toward the end of the year. Angel Reese missed the last 6 games of the year due to the injury. So that was huge. So you lost a rebounder, 13 rebounding a game, 13 rebounds a game uh, player. So that's going to hurt. You're going to make up for those 13 rebounds. And she was the lead in the league and all rebounders. So offensive rebounders, especially, was huge for them to be able to get second possessions and to be able to get second cracks at the at making a shot. Because, like I said, they were inconsistent, inconsistent scorers on their team. They really didn't have any scores. They would get some play off the bench every now and then, but as far as starters goes, they were pretty much below the rim scores. There was not a lot of 3-point shooting or mid range shooting. Um, Cardoso, like I said, she missed 8 games. She missed the first 8 games during the injury before the season even started. So she wasn't able to, work into the lineup. So 8 games in the NBA is not a lot because they play 82. So it's only about, a little bit less than 10% of the games. But they only play 40 games uh in the WNBA, so you're missing like a fifth of the season, and then you have to gel with your teammates. That's going to take time, so you lose some experience there and lose some points and camaraderie there. So that's very difficult as well. Um, not only was Marina Mabry also just to, talk about the subject, the topic I bring up earlier, she was averaging 33 minutes per game. So while she was playing those minutes, other players wasn't able to get their shot right, weren't able to get in the flow of the game or in the system. So you lose, not only do you lose a player who put up a lot of points, but a lot of minutes per game. So it kind of hurts the team when you have to bring somebody else in who's not acclimated to the system or acclimated to the flow of the game. And she was averaging 14, maybe he was averaging 14 points per game. So, like I said, that's huge. They probably, that's 14 points. You have to make up for those 14 points. Where are you going to get them from? Angel Reese is an excellent player, but she's not known as a scorer, more of a defender and a rebounder. So you have to make that up somehow. Um, And I just think she needed more time with the injuries and with the current team as the way it was constructed. She didn't construct that team. That was the owners and the GM's job. Um, Teresa Weatherspoon was a heck of a player, playing for the New York Liberty back in the day. I remember her watching her play when I was younger, and like I said, she's an even better coach in my mind because she was able to put these pieces together and only be 2 games out of the playoffs, and they didn't give her an opportunity to fairly succeed. I think they should have gave her another year or two. Usually, when you just drafted 2 rookies who were supposed to be um, the future of the franchise, you usually give the team a year or two. I know in the NFL it usually works that way as well. You draft a high pick, you get the fifth pick in the draft. That means your team was bad the last year. So you're not working with much. And you have to figure out a new system. So I think they should have gave her a couple more years to see if we can get Angel Reese a better scorer. We can get Cardoso a better defender and work on her footwork a little bit. Because I think that's the only thing missing from their games is pretty much scoring and like some footwork type stuff. But other than that, um, you're not going to do that in a year. Every team can't be fortunate like the Fever were. Um, just kind of talk about the Fever situation. They had scores around that team was suited for Caitlin Clark to succeed. You had shooters all around. You had Kelsey Mitchell. You had other shooters around the team. I forgot the girl's name, but they had shooters all around, perimeter scorers, not just mid range shooters and post guys. And you had Aaliyah Boston, who was the number one pick the year prior. So the team was set up. The only thing they needed was a facilitator. Chicago Sky needed a facilitator, which they still need. They needed scores. Kennedy Carter, I think, is the future of that team, but they still need other pieces. They had rebounders, which they bring in Angel Reese, but you need a more experienced team. So they don't have any the shooters to go around there. If they had found a facilitator to get Angel Reese the ball in better spots and get Cardoso the ball in better spots, I think that team would be a lot better for it. So this year in the draft, they need to go get a point guard um, that can get the ball. Unfortunately, Juju Watkins won't be available until probably a couple of years. She was just a freshman last year, and she has to wait to, I believe, her senior year or junior year. I forgot how it works in college, women's college basketball. I know in men's you can leave after 1 year, but I think the women have to wait a little bit longer because you have to be like 21 or 22 to be drafted into the WNBA. So unfortunately, they won't be able to look at Juju Watkins because I think that'll be a good fit for that team. But like I said, once again, they'll still be young. They'll still need time to mesh and gel. So it's a double-edged sword. Like you're given an opportunity, but you're not given a fair opportunity. So I don't know what would have saved her job. Maybe, like I said, making the playoffs would have saved her job, but maybe not. Like I said, I've given you examples of when coaches won the year before or a couple years before, won games, won accolades as a coach, and still were let go. So I don't know what the criteria that the owners want or the criteria that the owners have for being able to retain your job. And I think it's kind of unfair that they don't have the realistic expectations or don't look at anything in context. And it's more of just results based, results based decision making. So at the end of the day, I guess to keep your job, you have to win a championship every year or go deep in the playoffs every year, which is unrealistic. Like I said, you have to deal with injuries and managing your team. And I think they should just make decisions based off how much what you did with what you had. And I think Coach Weatherspoon, she made the best of what she had, and hopefully she'll get another opportunity. And I'm pretty sure she'll get another opportunity in this league to show her worth and to show what she can do as a coach. Like I said, she was let go after just 1 year, and it was a bad year the year before because obviously they got a top pick, two top picks in the first 10, 10 picks because they were able to get Angel Reese and Cardoso in the first 10 picks. Um, so yeah, just tell me what you think about Coach Weatherspoon and her ability, her being cut short as a coach. Um, and then we'll talk about it. Well, thanks for tuning in.